Hey guys, it's Commander Blondie here, bringing you a different type of video today. Today I'm checking out the MOBA TOME, the Immortal Arena, which is basically just another MOBA, but with every MOBA there's new champions, or guardians in this case, as you can see. Now, getting right into it, you can either have the guardians shown like this, or like this. Now I like it like this because this lets you see more. Now there are a total of 17, with a couple in rotation, such as Alberon, the Krugas, Malbus, etc. Now, after playing a couple games, I haven't really found anyone that is specifically overpowered, but this game in particular is geared towards new players. It's very forgiving. For example, if you're out of combat for a little bit, you get 4% health regen per second, and you don't have to CS at all. So, one, it's geared towards noobs. And no offense, but, you know. Two, it's geared towards more combat over farming. For example, League of Legends and Dota, if you don't kill a minion, you don't get the money for the minion. In this, and somewhat Smite and Dongate, you get gold even if you don't hit a minion. Except in this one, you get 100% of the gold. Now, some of these champions are, of course, if you look at the money costs, it's not very balanced at all. So, obviously, they're not really keen on letting you play most of these champions unless they're free to play, which you can see by the green arrows. Now, unfortunately, this means that unless you buy money, which is platinum in this game, you're probably not going to be able to buy champions other than Carr and Morlock, which are, from what I can see, the only ones, oh, and Robin, are the only ones that are not 12,600. Now you can see I have 20 from losing one game, because I'm bad. Now, even if you get 1,000 per game, that's still a lot of money to get, and I doubt you get 1,000 devotion per game, even if you win. Now, moving off that topic, I'm not going to go into detail with all of these guardians, as they're called, but as you can see, there's melee, ranged, there's assassins, slayers are assassins, tanks, tacticians are poke people that are supportish. But yeah, normal MOBA champions, different people, different spells. Now then, going into domains. This is the confusing part. Now, as you can see, there are certain levels. Going back to this, there's all of these, which are gods. Vala, the god of fire, Marith, the god of death, Gol, the god of earth, etc., all the way up to Stritus. Now, each of these gives buffs. So you can see I have 10 favor in death and 10 favor in air. That's because I played a game with a death champion and an air champion. Now, before we get too in depth with all of this, I'm going to go back to Guardians. Now you can see these people have purple underlines. That means that they are death. The frenzied executional. You can see the death symbol. Now, looking at, say Cyrus, who has all fire spells, he is fire. So the more you play with a certain domain's champion, the more favor you get. And then once you get 500, you get something like this. Experience gain is increased by 10%. Recovery is the ability that heals you for 4% whenever you're out of combat for too long. And then you've got all these different abilities. Now then, as you saw when I clicked this before, you have levels. So I don't currently have any favor in Vala, the god of fire, but in death, I have 10 favor. And see, 2%. You can get different abilities. So like this at 1,275, you start the game at level 2. At 2,725, your guardian damage is increased up to 12%, the lower the health is. So the less health they have, the more damage you deal. This gives you 500 platinum, yes, which is still not enough for a champion. but basically it's kind of an intermediate for this one, which is 1,000 platinum. So then, looking at the Earth, there's that regrowth, which I showed before. Health increased, 10% less damage from structures, 500 and 1,000. So 5 and 6 are always 500 and 1,000 platinum, while the others are normally something overpowered, such as 3 more gold per minion kill, start the game with 300 extra gold, deal more damage, all of which are extremely difficult to get because of the favor requirements. Now then, that's not where it ends. So looking at Morbus, for no particular reason. So you see his abilities, you see this, his money cost, then you see affinity and artifacts. Now affinity is basically the more you play with him, the more infinity you get. Affinity basically gives you bonuses just like the favor does. So if you get 9 affinity, you'd get 200 devotion. You get 18, you can press D to dance in the game. 27, you heal for 30% of the damage dealt to targets with his Q on. Now, I'm going back to a specific one, the Krugus. Now, I've actually played the Krugus, so I have 4 affinity for a loss. Now, what I've noticed is the first 2 are the same for all champions, or guardians as they're called. You get 200 devotion for getting 9, and for 18 you can dance, and then they start buffing the skills. Now, if you look at this, at the very end, you get a skin. Now, his one is called Ascended Krugus. This guy's is Ascended Fathom. You can see the pattern already. Ascended Jin. Anyway, so off that, now that we've seen affinities, looking at artifacts. Now, artifacts are really just, as you can see, play more games to get them. Artifacts are, going over here, these. Well, actually, this one's a blessing, but they are basically just little things that you can use to buff your champion in game. Now, as you can see, there are little symbols here showing that these people are mages, these 2, and they're ranged. This one is a tank, and he is melee. Let's look at some others. Mage, ranged. Damage dealer, melee. Tank, melee, etc., etc. Now then, it's one of the last things up. Apologies for that, but when I try to click the Platinum button, it seems to kick me out of TOME, and I cannot record it when it's not in full screen. Now, I do know the platinum numbers. Just to get you a bit overview, you get 750 for $5. Now, that means that you do not have enough. You are not even close to having enough for a champion. You get 1575 for $10. Still not enough. For $20, you get 3,225. So for $20, that's basically about one and a fourth of a champion. For $35, it's 5,775. 50 is 8,325. And for anyone that wants to actually buy $100 of platinum, it's 17,250. So, if you want to buy an actual champion, you're going to have to sink $20 into this right off the bat. And as there is nothing to buy other than guardians, since these are not buyable, you cannot buy favor, you must either use the $20 to buy another one, because you won't have enough to get 2, or you can just have however much that is. Now, just going to do one more thing. As you can see, there's not much else to do here. There's friends list, the chat list, well, not chat list, but the chat. There's my profile. Now I've played 3 things: Malbus, the Krugus, and Carr. As you can see, they're all in the Coliseum. All defeats, mainly because Malbus and for Malbus and Carr, they were practice matches, which is, if you will allow me to show you, simply against bots. Nothing is awarded. You don't win anything. It's just to test out the game. But these 2 games were against bots. This one, we got utterly destroyed. Anyway, away from those games, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. These are the settings: auto full screen, etc., etc. You can look through those. The hotkeys, they're basically League, GV, etc., etc. One change is the SmartCast is Shift S. Not much of a change. Anyway, as you can see, this game is quite interesting, but not many guardians. It's also very difficult to obtain said guardians, though they give some easy ones, such as a support and a tank, who looks pretty badass, if I may say, and an assassin. But the main problem with this, I must say, is the artifacts. And as you can see, say we'll go to Stridus. Random one, 35% reduced damage while stunned, feared, or immobilized. Now, this game rewards you for playing it a lot. Because if you play it a lot, you can buy a champion, and then you can use an affinity. Then you can say, oh, I want to play the Krugus with the affinity for increased damage. So, it is kind of unfair. I'll bring out some gameplay tomorrow and show you some of that. I'll also bring out some League gameplay. Other than that, I wanted to show you that there is only one map, the Coliseum, which I played all 3 of my games on. You can also have Scrimmage, which puts your team against 3 bots, which is nice for testing out your team comps, see if they work well. And then you can disband the team from there. And you can play solo from there. Got another new map coming soon, the Sanctuary. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Couple things were the unfair cost of champions, the kind of unfair affinities and blessings, but other than that, it's pretty well balanced. The champions don't deal too much damage, and it's very noob friendly, as some people would call it. And with that, this has been Commander Blondie, guys. Peace out.